All right, ready for a deep dive into something you might not expect. We're talking law today, but not just any law. We're diving into some really unique postgraduate programs.
And these aren't just any programs, right? We're talking about the International Hellenic University in Greece.
You got it, Greece. But here's the thing, and this is important for our listeners. These programs, they're all taught in English.
Huge point. That opens up a lot of doors for people. You don't have to be fluent in Greek to get this level of legal education.
Exactly. And it's not even just for lawyers, really. It's for anyone, I think, who wants to understand how law shapes the world, especially as things get more interconnected globally.
Absolutely. We're talking about things like international commerce, how art and cultural property are protected by law,
Yeah.
even energy policy.
Big topics. Okay, so let's jump right in. First up, they've got this LLM, that's a Master of Laws for anyone wondering, and it's in transnational and European commercial law, banking law, arbitration, mediation.
Bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Just a bit. So break it down for us. What are those fields all about, and why are they grouped together like that?
Well, think about it. Global trade, banking, disputes. These things are all completely intertwined these days. You can't have one without bumping into the others.
Right, makes sense.
So this program, it gets into all the complex connections. Like there's a core course on international banking regulations, for instance.
Oh, that reminds me of the 2008 financial crisis. Suddenly the whole world saw how interconnected global finance really is.
Exactly. You don't have to be a banker to be impacted, right?
Yeah.
Understanding how these systems are supposed to work, that's crucial for everyone. And of course, where there's international business, there's going to be disputes,
Yeah.
which is where arbitration and mediation come in.
So it's not just about knowing the laws on paper. It's about knowing how to navigate the whole system globally.
Exactly. This program gives you the tools to understand those frameworks governing international commerce. It'd be super valuable for someone working for a big multinational company or even a small startup that wants to grow internationally.
It is like knowing the secret rules of how the global economy works. Okay, next up, we've got something that might seem niche at first, but it's so relevant now with everything going digital, the MA in Art Law and Arts Management.
And when we say art law, it's not just about, who gets to keep a stolen Picasso, although that kind of thing does come up.
I bet it does.
This program, it gets into the really complicated stuff around cultural heritage, the international art market, and this is cool, even stuff in the digital realm.
Okay, so like NFTs, online art auctions. Are we talking metaverse law now?
You got it. It's fascinating how the law has to adapt to all this new tech, new challenges.
For sure. So someone who loves art but also wants to understand the legal and business side of how it all works, this program seems perfect for that.
Totally. Especially with digital art blowing up the way it has, this field is only getting more complex.
And more important, I'd imagine. Okay, last one for today's deep dive. We're going from art to energy. They've got an MSc in energy law, business, regulation, and policy. And with climate change and everything, this one feels super timely.
Oh, absolutely. And what's unique here is it's actually designed for people with different backgrounds. You could have a law degree or political science, economics, business, even engineering.
Whoa, really? That's a broad mix.
It's because they recognize that energy issues, you can't tackle them from just one angle. You need all those perspectives.
Or it makes total sense. It's not just a science problem or an economics problem or a law problem. It's all of them tangled up together.
And that's what this program gets at. Understanding energy, law, business, policy, but in that global context. Like take the Paris Agreement, for example. That's a huge deal for energy policy everywhere.
So to really understand what it means, you'd need to know about the signs of climate change, but also the economics of switching to renewables.
Exactly. And then the legal side, like how carbon emissions are regulated, plus the whole geopolitical landscape around who produces energy, who consumes it. It's a lot.
That's a perfect example of how intertwined all these issues are. So this program, it's for someone passionate about sustainability, maybe, or someone interested in the business side of renewable energy.
Or even someone fascinated by the geopolitics of it all. Who gets to control these resources, This program gives you the tools to really dig into all those different facets.
So interesting. Okay, so we've got the law programs themselves, but there's more to it than just the topics, right? There's something unique about how these programs are structured. There's more to it than just the topics. Like what?
Well, for one, these programs, they're not just about showing up for lectures and reading a bunch of books. They all have this mandatory thesis component.
Thesis. Whoa. Okay, so we're talking serious research here.
You got it. It's not just absorbing information, it's about actually contributing something new to the field.
So you're not just learning about the law, you're like learning to do law almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're coming up with your own research questions, maybe doing deep dives into case studies. You might even uncover a whole new way of looking at a legal problem. That kind of experience, that's invaluable no matter what you end up doing.
It's like the difference between reading about a five-star meal and actually learning to cook it. You get a whole different level of understanding when you're the one with your hands dirty.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of hands-on, did I mention these programs are offered entirely online through Zoom?
Hold on, wait, really? So I could be, like, studying international commercial law from a beach in Greece?
You got it. The flexibility is amazing. Perfect for people who are working, have families, or just, a serious case of wanderlust.
That's incredible, but how do they make it engaging, If it's all online, I imagine it could be easy to just tune out.
Well, first of all, the faculty they've got is amazing. We're talking top academics, people actually practicing law in their fields, from Greece and all over the world. Over 115 visiting professors have worked with these programs.
That's a lot.
It really shows you how global their focus is. And it's not just lectures. They do interactive seminars, discuss real cases, even have networking events online.
So even though you're on a screen, you're still getting that back and forth, that global exchange of ideas.
Exactly. And, don't even get me started on their library resources.
What, they have a massive online library or something?
Some of the best legal databases I've ever seen. Westlaw, Kluwer Arbitration, LexisNexis. If you need it for legal research, they've got it.
That's amazing. But I can also see how it would be overwhelming. Like, having all that info is one thing, but knowing where to even start.
Right. Well, that's where their library staff comes in. They help you one-on-one with research. They even have training sessions on how to use those databases properly so you're not just lost in a sea of legal jargon.
That's so key, especially these days when there's just so much information thrown at us all the time. It's not enough to just have access anymore. You got to know how to sift through it all and figure out what's actually important.
100%. And speaking of important, one thing I really love is that these programs, they don't just exist in their own little bubble. They actually organize conferences and events on things that are happening in the world right now.
Oh, cool. Like what? Give me an example.
So just to give you a taste, they did a whole conference recently on the legal stuff around the blue economy.
The blue economy. What's that?
Basically, it's about using ocean resources in a sustainable way, like stuff like maritime transportation, renewable energy you can get from the ocean, making sure fishing is done sustainably. It's a huge field that's only going to get bigger, huge economic impact, huge environmental impact.
Makes sense that it would need its own laws and regulations.
Exactly. So this conference, they had all these experts, maritime law, environmental law, people making policy, people actually in the blue economy industries.
Yeah.
All trying to figure out how to balance economic growth with protecting our oceans.
That is such a cool example of how these programs go beyond just the theory, They're really grappling with these complicated problems that are happening right now.
Totally. And they've had other events on things like AI, artificial intelligence, and what it means for law, and the whole challenge of protecting human rights online in this digital age.
It's so cool that they're not afraid to tackle those really thorny questions. Honestly, you're making me rethink my whole career path here.
Right. It's never too late. But seriously, that's what's so great about these programs. They don't just teach you about the law as it is now. They give you thinking about where it needs to go as the world changes.
Okay, so we've got the programs, the thesis research, the online format, those incredible library resources, the amazing faculty. Anything else our listeners should know about what makes these International Hellenic University programs special?
You know what? There's one more thing,
Yeah.
and it's something I really love about these programs. It goes back to what we were saying about them attracting people from all over the world.
Yeah, that statistic about international students, it was really impressive.
15% of their students coming from over 50 different countries. That's huge. Imagine being in those virtual classrooms. You're not just learning from the professors, you're learning from all those different perspectives that your fellow students bring.
It's like having a global network built right in.
Exactly. And those connections, they can last a lifetime. You might end up collaborating with someone who's sharing research or just having this network of people who get it, who get what it's like to work on these global issues.
So it's not even just about what you learn in the program itself. It's about who you meet, the connections you make.
For sure. And honestly, that's what makes these programs so special, to me at least. You're not just getting a degree, you're becoming part of this global community.
I love that. It really does feel like more than just another degree, you know? Okay, so let's say someone listening is really intrigued by one of these programs. What would you say is like the most important thing they should ask themselves to figure out if it's the right fit?
It's a big decision, right?
Yeah.
Choosing a path like that. So what should someone be thinking about if they're seriously considering one of these programs? Honestly, I think it comes down to curiosity. What are you most curious about? Each of these programs, it's a deep dive into some big important stuff: international trade, art, and how it's protected, the future of energy. Which one of those really gets you thinking, keeps you up at night wondering how it all works and how you could be a part of it?
I love that. It's not just about picking the right program, it's about figuring out what your own brain is drawn to, following that thread of curiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's something else to think about. Even if you don't see yourself like as a lawyer in a courtroom someday, these programs, they give you skills that apply to tons of fields.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
Okay, so think about it. Critical thinking, problem solving, how to do legal research and actually understand it, how to negotiate, how to mediate. Oh, and cross-cultural communication, that's huge E these days.
Those are useful no matter what you do.
Exactly. It's not even just about knowing the law. It's about learning to think like a lawyer, which honestly is useful in so many situations.
It's like they're giving you the mental toolkit to analyze complex stuff no matter what the problem is.
And don't forget about the global aspect. You're studying in an international program, you're going to be exposed to different legal systems, different ways of even approaching the law. That's valuable everywhere.
It's like the world is opening up in terms of job markets, global problems to solve, but
Right.
you need that understanding of how things work across borders.
And these programs, they give you a crash course in that.
Ah.
A very in-depth crash course, I should say.
Definitely. Okay, so for anyone listening who's now got their brain spinning about these programs, what's the one thing, the takeaway, that you want them to remember as they do their research?
Think about what kind of world you want to help build. What are the legal questions that keep you up at night? Let those questions guide you. These programs, they can give you the knowledge, the skills, even the connections to actually go after those big questions.
It's not just about becoming a lawyer, it's about becoming someone who can make a difference, however you define that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about being a citizen of the world, equipped to deal with whatever the 21st century throws at us, and hopefully make it a better place along the way.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for breaking all this down. For us, it's been incredibly eye-opening. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for another deep dive. We'll be back next time with more fascinating topics to explore. Until then, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deeper.